This is the Tier 8 Premium Autoloading Italian Tank Destroyer, the Semovente Contraccaro 64 Vipera. We're going to call it the Vipera for today's video because I don't want to have to say Semovente Contraccaro for the rest of the entire recording. Now, the Vipera is an autoloader, which is kind of interesting because when I think of Italians, I usually think of vehicles like the Renault Charente and the Progetto that are both auto-reloaders. But, trust me, this vehicle packs a very nasty punch. For example, the vehicle takes 32 seconds to load its entire clip, which, yeah, is quite a long amount of time, until you realize that it holds 5 shells with a 6-second interclip. This isn't something like a T-57 Heavy or a G-SOR, where you're gonna dump all of your damage in just a few seconds, back in the cover, and reload. No, no, no. This is a super-duper heavily armored frontline tank destroyer that is basically just a faster reloading 120 style millimeter than single shot takes. So let's say you're in an IS-6 or, any style Soviet 122, you're going to be sitting at around a 10 to 11 second reload depending on your loadout. This vehicle is a 6-second reload, which means if you shoot and bounce the Vipera, it's going to shoot once, it's going to pen you, and then 6 seconds later it's going to shoot you again, it's going to pen you. And then if you try to shoot it and you bounce or even you hit it, it's still going to trade 2 shots for every 1 shell that you fire. Because of that, it makes this an almost impossible tank to push, especially because it features 5 shells. You can very easily trick your opponents into thinking that you've dumped your clip by backing up, they'll push you, and then you'll still have another shell or maybe even 2. And then they'll be like, oh crap, maybe he reloaded his clips. They're going to start backing up, and then that's when you start to reload. This is just an absolutely insane vehicle. Now, not everything about the tank is insane. For example, the gun handling is really bad. 2.7 seconds of aiming time is pretty dang awful, and 0.38 dispersion for a 122 is also pretty dang atrocious. Its damage per minute is nothing special at 2,100, so yeah, it definitely has a lot of downsides, but obviously at the same time, this vehicle has some massive upsides. The biggest one being this, the armor profile. What we have is a Carnarvon with 220 mils of standard pen aiming at the front of this tank, and can you spot the weaknesses? Because yeah, there really aren't many. There's a very, very small lower plate, and this is a super, super weak lower plate. It's 60 mils thick at this angle, which means if you're actually using 150 millimeter cannons, or even some 130s, you can actually HE the lower plate of this vehicle. But for the most part, because of it being a super steep angle, I wouldn't recommend HE. But yeah, you're going to pen the lower plate every day of the week. The problem is, it's super duper small, and if you miss the lower plate by just about an inch, you're hitting a 265 millimeter thick plate, which is going to bounce the majority of shells fired at it, including a lot of premium shells. The upper plate on the Contraccaro here, 250, the turret, 290. Even if you load gold, which is 250 mils a pen on the Carnarvon, I mean, look at that armor. It's still a only 20% pen. And by the way, that's without even using the gun depression. Look at this vehicle's armor with the 10 degrees of gun depression. There is no weak spot, like whatsoever. What are you supposed to do in a Carnarvon? Well, the answer is don't engage this vehicle. If you think that you can fight it in a haul-down war, leave, go somewhere else. The only chance you might have is cutting through the track wheels if it overexposes its hull. But if it simply shows its turret hull down, you literally have no chance of cutting through. Even if we get a vehicle like the Type 63 that has upwards of 290 mils of heat pen, you still have literally no chance of cutting through a hull down Vipera. On flat ground, yes, you can cut through the hull, 270, 260, but even then, the turret is still incredibly thick. There are a couple weaknesses though. On flat ground, you can overmatch the roof with heat. AP shells, not going to be the case due to auto ricochet angles, but yes, heat will be able to overmatch the roof, and if you're looking down on the vehicle slightly, this part of the roof here you can easily overmatch as it's only 30 mils thick, so any gun that's over a 90 millimeter can overmatch the roof. But again, it's a very tricky shot. That's also the same for the engine deck. You can hit this as well, only 20 mils thick, but it's going to be very hard to hit these weak spots. Essentially, yeah, you got to be very careful when fighting a Vipera. If it's in a hull down position, leave, go somewhere else, because for the most part, you're really not going to be able to do much to this tank. So let's get into some gameplay and see what the vehicle can do. Here we are on Mines. Not a great map for the Vipera, but it does have some things that are pretty nice. First of all, it's pretty small. That's what she said, but yeah, Mines is a pretty small map, which means the not-so-great mobility on the Vipera isn't as much of a problem. We can easily get into the front line, which will be really, really nice. The other good thing is that it's a pretty hull-down map, especially when it comes to frontal armor, and judging that the Vipera is literally just all frontal armor, it's going to be a pretty solid game for us to be able to work up in the front line and hopefully get some decent decent shells out. So let's see what we're able to do. Now, something else that's really good about this matchup is that we're only up against tier 8. I am a firm believer in the fact that whatever tier you play should be the only tier you fight. So if I pull out a tier 7 heavy, I should only fight tier 7s. If I pull out a tier 9, I should only fight tier 9s. People might disagree with this. They might say that it's boring and lacks diversity, but there is literally 180 tier 8s in the game. That's enough diversity for me to have a lot of fun. I just think that it would make the game a lot more balanced if the matchmaker was even +1, -1 compared to +2, -2. But either way, we're going to see what we can do in this game. Now, the enemy team does have 6 tank destroyers, which is something that you're going to have to keep in mind, especially on a map like Mines, because if you make even the slightest of aggressions, you can instantly be deleted. Hence, the Obsidian on the enemy team. Although that's not the slightest of aggressions. That Obsidian literally just committed suicide for, like, no reason there. I don't even know what to say, but I'll take the 562 damage. We got the Contra Caro 67 right in front of us. We're going to aim it on his lower plate. A bonk, thank you very much. Not too bad at all, and unfortunate. I was hoping we could get another shell out there. Let's aim it on the XM66F. An easy shot into you for 436. Not able to get a shell into the Type 63, but you know what? Not doing too bad so far. Been able to get out a decent chunk of damage of 1400, which is pretty dang nasty. Now, I'm saving my 2 shells as of currently. It's always a tricky question on whether you should reload your clip or you should just keep your current shells. I usually stay with a clip loaded until I'm down to about 2 or 1 shells. Like, obviously at this point, especially with nobody looking like they're going to poke me, the majority of vehicles that were here that did play aggressive are dead. So at this point, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to be able to get much more out. Might as well reload the clip, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we got an additional 32 seconds before we can really do anything here. So I'm just going to back up. They do have an arty, and I don't want to get pegged by an arty. Not today, especially with how weak the armor is on the roof of this tank. So we're going to chill here. We're going to wait a little bit. And now that we're almost done with our reload, we're going to start to move up. It looks like nobody's really shooting at our Bisante or T832 for moving up, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. And sweet, we were able to get across. That's actually really lucky. Letting the enemy, or I guess letting us get up Mines Hill is just an instant dub, essentially. But I personally don't really think holding Mines Hill once you have a couple vehicles up there is that important. It's like, look at how many tanks we have up the hill. We got a T832, we got a Bisante, Skoda, G-Sword, Type 59. What are they going to do? I mean, sure, they might distract the TDs in the back or something, but, like, they're not going to shoot the Type 63 or UDES down below. So, I don't know. I personally don't even think holding Mines Hill is really that important. I'd rather push down here more towards the enemy spawn and see if I can work my way around the corner, especially with those CDs being distracted by the guys up top. So, the TS5 pokes. We're going to aim it on his vehicle, and there you go. Nice shot, Aruni. Thank you. We've just broken the 2,000 damage barrier. Alright, we got another shell loaded, and we're going to see what we can do. Well, I doubt that TS5 is going to poke us. I'm going to move up a little bit. Hello's the T28 there. Do I get spotted? No. Okay, well, I guess the T28's not looking at us right now. Probably off towards the other side. The only thing I'm a little worried about is that TS5 obviously poking us, but the vehicle does have pretty bad camo values, and we can see that he is spotted, so there he is. Hello? You going to poke us? No. There's only a couple spots you can pen the TS5 if he's actually proper hull down. It's the hatch, and that's it. If he shows the lower plate, we can pen it, but right now that's obviously not going to happen. So T28, over angles aside, easy pen, but yeah, you can see that 0.38 dispersion right there. It's bad. It's really bad. If you are not in a frontline engagement, you're not going to get any damage out. And even in a frontline engagement, easy shell on the UDES just dumps right into the dirt. Again, great example of the just terrible accuracy that this vehicle features. But when you're shooting at a big German super heavy like the Luvo, which is only about 20 meters in front of me, yeah, then it's going to be a pretty easy shell. So we're going to back up here. T28 shoots my track wheel. Doesn't pen. Pretty expected. And at this point, we've done pretty good. Look at all the APCR shells that have bounced us. Luva, UDES, T28 Obsidian. It shows you, first of all, how many people are spamming gold rounds in World of Tanks, but it also shows you just how effective this vehicle's armor is. Alright, well, we're about to be reloaded with our clip, and the Luva is making a very brave decision to push us here, especially because we literally have 5 shells. That is 2,000 potential damage. Well, we got a nice shell into the SU-130 because he over-aggresses, and now we're going to back up, and, well, the UDES just kind of gets bonked. I don't even know why the UDES played that aggressive, but alright. UDES gets shot. Oh, we got the XM in front. We're just going to shoot the Luva right now. Nice 400 shell. We're up to 3,600 damage, but we're not done yet. There you go, another nice shot. We're up to 4,071 damage. Now I'm going to start backing up. This Luva probably thinks I'm out of shells. That's not the case. We get a nice shell into his track again, and we're up to 4,500 at this point. Again, we are still blocking damage. We've only been penned once. Just, what a stupid take. I mean, yeah, there are situations where this gun is going to let you down big time. The penetration as well, really, really bad. Look at that pen. It is only 264 on the gold. But it doesn't really matter when you're able to get away with, I mean, literally situations like this. So we're going to reload here. We got the Type 63 in the UDES. I was really hoping we could get a shell into that UDES, but he just kind of ran away, which is really unfortunate for us. But, oh well. We're going to pull up here. We're up to 4,862 damage, and all that we're going to be able to shoot at this point is most likely that UDES. So come on, full speed ahead, go, 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 and we got it. All right, I'll take it. 4,998 damage. We were too short of 5,000, but you know what? I'll take it. We almost got the 5K if this T-28 had backed up, but instead he pulled forward. So, oh well. That was a pretty solid result for the Vipera. Taking a look at the post-game results, not only did we deal 5,000 damage, but we also aced the tank, which is pretty dang solid judging that I've only played about 5 games in this vehicle since I've had it just sitting in my garage dormant. Taking a look at our credit earnings, 188,000. That is absolutely insane, but that's also because of the fact we did not shoot a single premium shell. If you load gold, you are obviously going to lose a lot more credits. I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't have to use premium ammo unless you have to. But it is a pretty tricky decision in autoloaders because you have to reload the entire clip, even if you have intuition, if you want to start penetrating your opponents with premium ammo. So at the end of the day, the Vipera is an incredibly strong vehicle. You don't see people making videos on this tank anymore, which is a little surprising because I still think that this is one of the more overpowered tier 8s. It literally has no weak spots all down, and I think that's bullcrap. The vehicle should have some sort of weak spot, but oh well, that's the Vipera for you. 10 degrees of gun depression, decent DPM, and an insanely good armor profile, all for the downside of one of the most inaccurate guns in Tier 8. Hopefully, you all enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, and let me know what you guys think about this tank in the comments down below. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.